Okay. Hi, this is Dory Friend and Kyle Roof for this is July. What's the date today? July 29th, and we're
29.
29th, and we're going to go over the dossier, July's dossier, and I think we'll just gonna get in and get started. Take it away, Kyle.
Sounds good. Uh, hey everyone, thanks for being on. Good times. Sorry about the change in time. I appreciate everyone's flexibility. Didn't really plan that one out very well. That yesterday would have been my 3 a.m. and that wouldn't have been very much fun.
Yeah.
So first page, first test on this is page speed, a ranking factor. This is one of my favorite tests that I've done. I really enjoyed a lot of it, and I enjoyed it because of the concept of how Google presents information. Um, when as on the first page says, in 2010, Google told us that page speed is a ranking factor, and then they gave some tools to look at and really didn't explain what they meant by page speed. But in looking at the tools that they offered and what those tools explored, in particular even Google's own tool, what we were kind of led to believe was that page load time is what Google was looking at as the particular ranking factor for page speed. And you can really gather that from specifically from Google's own tool when they say that the two big things that they're measuring are how quickly half the page loads and then how quickly the whole page loads. And that leads to, okay, we're talking about page load time. Nevertheless, the thing that we never want to do is just take anybody's word for it, especially Google's, and so we'll run this test. And to do this test, what I did is set up this script. And what this script will do is it will kind of make a page run through some processes a bunch of times, and it will effectively slow down the page. So after indexing pages, just in the first, I often throw out 2 pages just to see what's what, to get a feel for things, and then the one page was at a kind of a standard 2-second load time, and the page with the script was all the way up over 12 seconds, and the page with the script at 12 seconds ranked first. Once we see that and there's a possibility on a test, then often we'll take that into then a 5-page environment. The reason to take it into that is then we can kind of see more movement and see if we're actually getting a factor or not. And so in this situation, indexing 5 pages and then put the script on the 3rd page. And the idea is that if page speed is a ranking factor, the page that is significantly slower in the number 3 spot will drop to the bottom or drop at least a spot. So the initial page speed for that page was 2.2 seconds, and then with the script it turned to 6.8 seconds. And when it was all said and done, nothing changed. Ran this test 3 times, and each time no movement whatsoever in the page that was significantly lower than all the other pages. The page speed for all the other pages was at that 2.2 seconds. So pretty crazy. You know, it's like, well, clearly page load time is not a direct ranking factor. Now, clearly, it can be a secondary factor, because if you've got a page that's 12 seconds, nobody's staying on that page to let it load. So you could have an extremely high bounce rate, low user engagement metrics, and those could be ranking factors, and that's obviously a secondary thing. But we were told that page speed was an actual ranking factor in and of itself, and so that's kind of what we want to identify. Like, what is that? What can we then do better for our sites to actually, just by doing that, increase our rank? In doing a little research on this whole issue, I came across some great articles, and one in particular was in Moz, and it looks like time to first byte, TTFB, might be what Google's looking at. And what time to first byte is that when somebody types in a website and hits enter, it's the time then that the request is sent to the server, and then the very first byte, the very first piece of information comes back to the website. Time to first byte, TTFB. What's interesting is that is a lot of server-side configuration stuff, and really has very little to do with stuff on the front end of the site. So,
So would that be
what?
in
Go
server
ahead.
side?
I'm sorry.
Would that be would your host be responsible for something like that?
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that you would want to go in and make sure that your server settings are optimized. And it's looking like you'd want something in the neighborhood of 500 milliseconds, no worse than that in TTFB. What's interesting is there's a tool that shows it. Of all the tools that Google talks about, only one I think shows it clearly, and that's webpagetest.org, and you can see time to first byte very clearly presented there. And that's the kind of thing that I rely on developers for from there. If I see poor performance in TTFB, that's the kind of thing I turn over to my developer and have him go in and tweak that. So it's not anything that I even have any particular knowledge of how to do, but other than evaluate it and go at it. So that's actually what I've shifted, and this is a very recent shift in my own practice, going from focusing on why slow and page speed, which then to fix those sort of speed issues, that's getting into caching images and minifying this, that, and the other. Now I do that to kind of get within a range so obviously the page loads at a comfortable page load time, but for ranking, what I'm doing is I'm going at TTFB. TTFB, we haven't proved that yet, and that's a difficult thing to attack in a ranking environment, but that's what I've shifted my own practice to.
Yeah, and if somebody does not have a developer, they could always look for somebody, a system admin on Upwork or something like that, to go in and do that type of job for them. And also, we know that speed is a UX, it's a user experience type of thing, which now that we're starting to prove this, and we have some more tests coming up next month or this month that focus on page speed as well, that we know for usability, it's a great thing to do for your users. But when you're not even ranking and having users, there's other, we're starting to prove that there's other things that may be pushed up on your priority list before, making sure your page is the fastest freaking page out there. So.
100% right. I mean, page load time is its own cottage industry in SEO, where there are people that's their whole job is making pages load faster, with the understanding or with the idea that it will affect your rank directly. And when you think about limited budgets, like you were just saying, where can we spend our money effectively to impact rank? It's probably not directly in your page load time.
Yeah, I agree. So that's the big takeaway from this and some of the other tests that we have coming up as well. So just different priorities at different times.
Yeah, exactly.